welcome to one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Hundreds of thousands of fans that are pouring into Montpellier. Yes, I did say hundreds of thousands. This is the big show. That was a double backflip transfer. That is insane.
The largest action sports festival in the world.
Welcome out here in the beautiful south of France for the FIS World Series 2019, presented by Honor and Montpellier Mediterranean Metropole. I'm Ryan Meyer. This is Daryl now. Thanks for joining me, man. We have a big event coming your way. It's one of the biggest out here at the FIS Montpellier. That's right. We're talking about the UCI BMX Freestyle Park World Cup Men's Final. What a show we have for you guys.
Yeah, this is the big one in all of BMX Freestyle. We are gearing up towards the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, and the excitement and energy in BMX on a global level has just been building with each stop of the FIS World Series around the world, and now in Montpellier for the final. You can just feel the energy with the crowd that is pouring in to the Les River here in Montpellier.
What an amazing event we had yesterday. One of the absolute most incredible semifinals I have ever called in BMX. And I've been doing this for a long time. It is so insane, the level of riding that we are going to be seeing for the finals. But it's not the only stop we have on the FIS World Series. You see there, we started off in Hiroshima, Japan, moving over to Montpellier, France, where things started over 2 decades ago. Then we are going to be finishing off in Chengdu, China. At the end of October, October 31st, we're going to be welcoming you guys in China. Make sure you mark it on your calendar for that. But guys, really, this is one incredible event that we have pushing here in France. The weather is beautiful. High 20s right now for the athletes. The crowds have come out here in drones. Over 100,000 spectators visit the FIS each day here in Montpellier. I'm so excited to welcome you guys here. But 2020, it's the biggest qualifying year we have for the Olympics. What does this mean for BMX, Daryl?
Ryan, the excitement has been building. 2020 Tokyo, the games are going to come together on a global level, and all the countries are going to be representing in all different sports. But this is the first time that BMX Freestyle will be there. There's a lot of information to know and to break down. You can log on to UCI.org to find out all current qualifying places for our countries, for our riders, where there's events in your own place. But in a nutshell, the way it's going to work, 18 riders are going to be at the games, 9 men, 9 women. And of those 9 spots, we're going to basically be seeing 1 spot go to the host country of Japan. And then our countries are out here at the FIS World Series and other global events earning points for their country, where they'll be earning spots into the game. So UCI.org is where you'll find all the information on that. But the main thing to know is the energy is building with all of our riders who really want a spot at the games.
I mean, this is such a big thing for BMX, moving into the Olympics, like you said, but FIS, such a massive part of that initiative, getting the points together. But look at that incredible course. Sunny, 24 degrees, hardly any wind. The crowd is out, and a huge shout out to Hurricane Parks. Tell me some interesting features going on with this one this year.
This is one of our centerpiece parks on the whole FIS World Series. This is our hometown of Montpellier, so the builders of Hurricane get to design one of the big parks that has all the features it's known for. I'm talking about the big box jumps, the big spines. But if you look directly in the middle of the course, we have a very unique island centerpiece that doesn't have conventional transitions on it, where riders are going to have to utilize those different transfers ups and transfers down. And then on the far end of your course, you also see some very big vert quarter pipes that have bowl corners as well and are going to separate some of our riders. Well, we're going to have 12 riders that qualified for the finals. We're going to break them down to 3 separate heats with 4 riders apiece. There's two runs, up to 60 seconds per rider, and it's going to be the best run that counts. Now, Ryan, we've talked about this in the past, how important that best run counts format is, because we'll wind up seeing a little bit of a strategy out on the course. The riders are going to have to utilize that entire 60 seconds for difficult and consistency, amplitude and flow, originality and style, control and execution, progression and variety. What this means for our riders is that they are going to have to impress our judges out there utilizing the entire 60 seconds on the course and really make things happen. Now, Ryan, we do have our judging tower you can actually see out there, and we've got some legends of BMX who are going to be putting a numeric value to a rider's run. They can get from 1 to 100. As we scroll down the list, we have Dave Cleworth from the UK, Marcus Wilke from Germany, Ruben Alcantara from Spain, Romuald Noro from France, Van Homan from the USA, and we have Christy Hughes from Great Britain as well. Yes, that is correct. We have the legend Ruben Alcantara, who you can see right on the front of your screen right there. He has helped redefine BMX many a times throughout the last 2 decades, along with Van Homan.
Well, that's an incredible list of top legendary athletes and judging specific disciplines up there on top of the board. But let's take it down to Catfish and see who our top 12 riders are going to be out here in the BMX final.
12 riders enter. Only one will leave Montpellier champion in the BMX park. Montpellier, do you want to meet your riders? Our first rider representing Bassane, France, 21 years old, Anthony JeanJean. From Jersey, Great Britain, 26 years old, Alex Coleborn. 19 years old from Virginia, USA, Justin Dowell. 27 years old from Ohio, USA, Nick Bruce. 25 years old from Swansea, Great Britain. Say hi to James Jones. 21 years old representing Kazan, Russia, Irek Rizaev. 24 years old from Melbourne, Australia, Jake Wallwork. Representing California, USA, 24 years old, Daniel Sandoval. 28 years old, doing it for Brisbane, Australia, Kyle Baldock. The youngest rider in the finals at 17 years old, from Japan, Rimo Nakamura. 26 years old, Sydney, Australia, Brandon Loupos. And your number 1 qualifier, from Brisbane, Australia, 25 years old, Logan Martin.
Well, it all came down to that last man on deck there. You see him right now, Logan Martin, to the very last run. Let's check out how he got on top of the spot. I mean, I thought that this contest could go anywhere. One of the most incredible semifinals we had, but right down to the last wire with Martin. 720 bar spin right there, huge transfers. What it's going to take to stay on top is perfection out there today.
That 720 double bar spin was so crazy over that step up, followed by a downside 360 tail whip on the step down. Logan was definitely on one. One thing that we all noticed right now is we heard all of our riders in the final. 6 of the finalists, the top 6 riders, 4 of them were Australians. That's so crazy to think. So all day it was almost a battle of the Aussies out there. And when all was said and done, Logan Martin, which we're witnessing in the 60 seconds by doing that off-axis backflip, 1-foot, one-hander straight into the flare tail whip, is what gave him the top score of the day and able to be in this position to ride last here today, which is definitely an advantage because he has the opportunity to watch the way all the other riders compete and then can play his strategy.
Look at the start list right here. We have JeanJean, Anthony right there, who is one of the biggest stories out here at the FES. He learned about BMX while being a toddler in the crowd. His childhood dream was to be in the finals, and here he is today. But not the only one. He's going to be the first to drop with all the pressure on his shoulders. Have a huge list rolling out after that. Our Heat 1 is going to be JeanJean, Alex Coleborn, Justin Dowell, Nick Bruce. Then moving into Heat 2, James Jones, Irek Rizaev, Jack Wallwork, Daniel Sandoval, and our third and final heat, Kyle Baldock, who came out blasting yesterday, the first rider to drop out of his first run into the 90s. I thought that was going to hold all day, but it did not. Nakamura came out, knocked him out. Brandon Loupos knocked him out, and then Logan Martin ended up on top. This is going to be one of the biggest contests we've had in FES history, because I'm telling you, that was the craziest semifinals I have ever called.
Yeah, Ryan, everything is building towards Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games.
Check out JeanJean right there on the feature. I talked about him watching the FES in the past. Check out a capsule collection we put together here of JeanJean. What an incredible story we have out here for France. The only French rider making it in past the semifinals, into the finals out here today. And the story from Anthony JeanJean is nothing short of remarkable. Finding out about BMX by being in the crowd out here many years ago at the FES as a toddler. He started riding BMX, hopefully winning up to his childhood dream of being one day into the finals here in Montpellier. And for the first time, Anthony JeanJean is performing in front of the crowd here for France.
Ryan, we saw yesterday the Cinderella story come true as he qualified. The support from the fans in Montpellier was overwhelming, and it seems like they're going to do the same today as he starts things off with that wall ride into a bar spin, followed by a bar spin to tuck no-hander. JeanJean has been developing his skills riding all across France, and right now he's doing a backflip double tail whip over the big spine, straight into a backflip bar spin. JeanJean looking very confident as he wall rides in the opposite direction. Here we go. Downside double tail with 316.
Going down. Anthony deflated on that one. So much time goes in on the bike to be able to get this.
Now, Ryan, when an athlete crashes in their run, they can technically get up and keep going if they would like to. If a rider puts a foot down or has a full fall like Anthony did right there, it's their choice if they want to get up. Let's take a look. 360 double bar spin, spotting that landing. Here it is over the spine. This was one of the biggest moves that he did in his run. Backflip, double tail whip, full commitment also on that backflip bar spin. But if a rider does crash in their run, as we are going to see on that downside 360 double downside tail whip, they wind up getting penalized. If you put a foot down, it's going to obviously reflect your score, and if you crash like that, even more so. So JeanJean, best he could do is 100. He's given a score of a 38. But since we're doing best run format out here, he's going to have another opportunity to get back in the ring and make it happen for a second run.
Well, the British Bulldog himself doing it for British cycling. You see on the right-hand side of your screen, Justin Dowell right there on the left in the USA jersey. This is all friendship, and they are riding on the same team, but let it be known the Olympics are coming up, and these boys want to judge for their own country. Alex Coleborn, he had a tough time yesterday, but ended up making it in the end. Coleborn starting things off with a 720 bar spin on the spine jump.
We've seen Coleborn always be a favorite out here in Montpellier because he brings the big tricks like that 360 triple tail whip. That was 3 times around on the back end with the 360 straight into the 540 flare, and he loses it.
Just a little under-rotated on that. An insane move. The 540 flare, or you can even look at that as a 900 spin, just basically pulling back on the bars, yanking over your shoulder as much as you can, and hopefully landing on the ramp. I have no idea how these guys get it so precise into the middle of their run, but unfortunately, Coleborn not getting that. You see the replay right there, that incredible 360 triple tail up, pushing here into that flat spin, bar spin, and then
look at this. The rotation comes around, and then his back wheel just winds up washing out a little bit. So much of that trick is knowing where your body weight is so that you can confidently stick it right into the transition. Even if you're off the slightest bit in that slow-mo that we're seeing, you have so much momentum and force, your tires aren't necessarily able to stick, and you can fall in either direction.
Well, we have Justin Dowell coming up next, and we've also put together a little sequence from the man here in Fees. On every single obstacle.
This is one of our younger competitors at 18 years old. This is Justin Dowell. So we're seeing Justin Dowell highlights right there. You're also seeing him wear the UCI rainbow jersey. The UCI is partnered with the FIS to help make Olympic dreams possible. And if a rider wears that rainbow jersey, that signifies that they were the world champion from the year prior. So Justin Dowell, the 2018 UCI world champion, starting things off big on the box jump after he hit the spine. Wall ride to that bar spin. Dowell, the Virginia Beach rider, big cannonball to bar spin. Great extension on the cannonball. You saw he actually pushed his bike completely out in front of him with enough time to have that bar spin all the way with the handlebars. Dowell looking for a setup here. So much of a rider needs to know where they're going on the course so they can put the big tricks like that Twix transfer. That was enormous. The only rider that we've seen in our qualifications out there doing that trick, that is a bar spin with a tail whip at the same time, known as the Twix. And he did it transferring from one ramp over to the other, increasing the difficulty as opposed to doing it on a quarter pipe where you'd be going up and coming down. Dowell looking for a big one, 360 double tail into a flare turn down, and that is going to be time for a big run for Justin Dowell.
Wow, a huge one coming out there for USA Cycling. With the rainbow colored jersey up in the sky, he came off some big contest, was riding out there at dirt as well on the mini ramp.
Ryan, all cyclists around the world know that that is one of the best and biggest honors you can have, to wear that UCI rainbow jersey. I know it's a new thing relatively in the world of BMX. 2017, Logan Martin had that jersey on his back, and right now, Justin Dowell has that honor. We saw the big bar spin with the tail whip. That Twix was insane as he just traveled across the gap, landing so smooth and clean. Here's a look at the 360 double tail whip. Taking another angle, just floating as he spots his pedals clean enough to then lace together that flare with the turn down. So Dowell booming into the 90s, a 91.20, raising the bar and raising the stakes. That is where you want to be sitting after your first run.
Wow, that is what we are looking for. Nick Bruce on deck. We've also put together some highlights from this man. Let's check it out before he drops in.
Box jump with that huge course 720 tuck no-hander. Laying it down right here. Backflip tail whip.
Bruce last week at Woodward East in Pennsylvania, and Nick is in top form, ready to bring it as well. You have to thread the needle. And Bruce right there, 360 tail whip, kicking it back. The
Well, we're back up here. Nick Bruce is set, calm, and ready to fire back. Had a huge run as well yesterday, awarding himself a qualifying spot into the finals here. Big smile on the American's face, and he sets foot in the park.
Well, we know Nick Bruce can get it done because last year in 2018, he finished first at this event, starting things off big two-hit combinations. That was a no-handed 360 backflip, known as the air traffic controller, first done by the late, great Dave Mira. We're seeing Nick Bruce 15 seconds into his run and fly with the big transfer, throwing that tail whip 360, landing a little bit flat. We're just taking a moment to look at his bike. It seems like it's still rolling right there. We didn't know if maybe he had some technical difficulties. You can see the commitment on that tail whip. Foot is on the crank arm, but he is committed to getting that manual all the way around. Wow, you're seeing Nick have a little difficulty in that flip. Now, you know, Ryan, he might be having something go on with his bike, and that it is. He grabbed that back tire. He might have a slow leak on his wheel, and that is going to affect. So we were witnessing while he was riding out on the course, and you heard it a little bit in our voices. We were watching, just like Nick, trying to figure out what was going on with his bike. There was the no-handed 360 backflip straight into that 540 flare, and he landed flat. You could see the pressure on the back wheel, and then here on the backflip with the crank, known as the ET, almost lost everything. I think his wheel might be rubbing the frame or the brake a little bit, and that's why it caused his wheel to maybe shift and his foot to come off. Thankfully, he kept it together. Nick's gonna have to get some bike mechanics going on, because the way it works, a rider has to get it either fixed or use someone else's bike by the time their next run starts.
Well, back up to the top for Anthony JeanJean. You saw before, our French MCs down the road here are just elated. They actually, one of them has been showing him BMX since his childhood. He found out about it. This Cinderella story has come to light, and he's reliving his childhood dream right here in front of the Montpellier crowd. 360 double bar spin starting things off for JeanJean. He did not have the run he was looking for, crashing on a 360 double downside tail. Hopefully he can put things together right here.
Now, Ryan, this is the moments where you could see a rider either steers into the pressure and pulls it off like JeanJean with that backflip double tail whip, and then turns it up right there. Backflip bar spin to tail whip. JeanJean is delivering for our fans, and they're going completely crazy cheering him on.
There we go. That's what we were missing. That 360 double tail whip. The French crowd is screaming. We can hear our booth shaking from the volume pitches down the alley.
JeanJean has 15 seconds to go. These are very important moments as he transfers with the Superman seat grab. 10 seconds for JeanJean. Can he pull it? Digging deep as he transfers out of the vert wall.
The final 5 seconds here. Time for one trick, and no, he misses the front flip up into the dish. An upset for Anthony JeanJean. Oh, the deflation, but in front of the French crowd, the one French rider out here in the finals, and that does it, unfortunately, for his second and final attempt.
Oh my gosh, JeanJean just pouring it on when it counts. Bar spin to tuck no-hander. This entire run had so many highlights, but look at the backflip double tail whip at such height, and smooth the way he was able to land, setting up beautifully for this backflip bar spin with the tail whip. Such a killer combination, and here's where he gets the redemption, pulling it clean, the 360 downside double tail whip, and then flying across the course on an unconventional transfer with that Superman seat grab and kicking his legs for some extra style.
Wow, look at that crowd out here in Montpellier. That is not a football stadium. That's not a Formula One. This is UCI BMX Freestyle, and we are presenting the World Cup finals of the men's division out here. JeanJean just delivering a nice performance. Unfortunately, having a crash in the last 10 seconds only awards him a 62.2.
So Ryan, the fact that this is the road to the Olympics and we are working with the UCI, what's expected of the riders has increased over the last 2 seasons. So much so, we have our technical delegate, Bart de Jong, who's in the house, making sure that riders deliver. And what we're seeing, the way the judges have been approaching it, they are are heavily penalized for a crash, even if it's in the last few moments of their run. We actually saw that happen yesterday with Alex Coleborn in his qualifying run, but amazingly, his riding was of such a caliber, he still wound up making it in. So Coleborn had some difficulty in his first run. Let's see if he can make it go on his second.
Coleborn was really going for everything in this one. Look at that. Oh no! Oh, that's a huge upset for Alex Coleborn. He had stomped that clean in his first run, that 360 triple tail whip.
Now, Ryan, since this is a points race and our UCI World Cup events, the Feast World Series is the biggest points grab possible for our riders on the road to the Olympics. You would think, in a way, a strategy, if you go down, if you could muster yourself back up and you could even pull off the run after a crash. I know it wouldn't be your ideal. You wouldn't be getting, obviously, the points closer to 100. It'd probably be on the lower side of the spectrum, but whatever points you could get could potentially be so important for your country, because basically the way this is looking, it's the countries trying to get in and the riders are doing it representing them. So currently Australia is leading the charge, followed by USA, then Great Britain, Russia, Venezuela, and in 6th is Costa Rica. But you could log on to the UCI.org to see all real-time results, current standings, and also to find out where there's different events in your country to get involved, cheer the riders on, or if you're an up-and-coming rider, you could wind up entering the competitions.
Well, a rider trying to get his country, the United States of America, into the Olympics, represented the rainbow jersey, meaning he is the world champion coming off of that UCI victory last year. Justin Dowell, the man who invented the Twix, that bar spin to tail whip, is dropping in for his second attempt here at the FIS Montpellier course with a backflip double bar spin on the spine and a 360 windshield wiper. That's a tail whip to tail whip back.
Yeah, Dowell going around. Let's see, 20 seconds in, 360 looking backwards. Dowell currently has the lead, the 91.20. I love the way that he carved around that wall right there. You saw he just used that body as he leaned into it and ripped around, getting momentum, pumping on the wall. Wow, so it looks like Dowell is going to throw that up right there. Very uncharacteristic of Justin Dowell. Maybe a little bit winded. Maybe he's saying, hey, you know what? This isn't going to up my score. So that was a backflip triple bar spin. That is right. It might have looked like a double in the regular view, but when you slow things down, you just see how crazy things are. So right there, he had the difficulty on that cannonball to bar spin, and I bet you, I don't want to speak on Justin Dowell's behalf, but he said, you know what, if I got the cannonball to bar on my first run and my second I did it, I don't think I'm going to be able to up the score because it was a similar path on the course. Now, since this is a best run format that counts, the riders are obviously not going to be penalized if they do the same run 2 times in a row. And the reason a rider might do that, even if they pull it in the first one, they might say, hey, you know what, my last trick that I do, I'm going to really go for broke. I'm going to roll the dice, put all the chips on the felt, and hopefully get a higher score. Because basically this is a game of risk versus reward, where you want to put your riskier moves out there and try to get the higher score without crashing.
Well, a score that needs to be improved is that of Nick Bruce, dropping in next. We know he has what it takes to be a champion at the UCI BMX Freestyle events. As he drops in here for his second attempt here, 60 seconds on the clock starts, and a cork 720 tuck no-hander has flown very high into that 540 flare.
So Nick Bruce right now very focused. He is a rider who takes just as much time making sure he's in the right headspace on and off of his bike. He definitely takes a holistic approach to life and puts his energy out there. And Nick Bruce right now is getting it done with the 360 invert, folding his bike sideways. What? That was so crazy the way he was able to just whip his back end around in that off axis, utilizing that very unique transition up on top of the volcano. So cool to see that unique feature on the course and our riders using it. Tuck no-hander transfer. Bruce right now getting into the nitty-gritty with 10 seconds to go. Tail whip transfer. Come on, Nick, looking for a big finish, letting the judges know that he's confident and in control. 360 X up, flare, double tail whip, and he sticks it clean.
Yes, Nick Bruce right down to the buzzer. We have talked time and time again how this is what the judges want to see as we push forward with the new UCI ruling. Getting a run completely to the very end of that 60-second clock is going to help your score tremendously.
Yeah, Ryan, what we're basically seeing is BMX freestyle as a whole, more of the athletic side come into play. 60 seconds is a very long time when you're riding. It's basically an all-out sprint where you're so focused on the course and you've got to stay cool, calm, and collected with your riding, but also your breathing and your pace. And when a judge sees a rider at the end can stomp a big trick like this flare double tail whip, that just shows that you're in control, you've got the endurance, you've got the confidence, and you weren't lost out on the course. You did exactly what you planned and what you wanted to do. So you can see on screen the score to beat is the 91.20, which is held onto by fellow American and UCI world champion Justin Dowell. So Nick Bruce right now did his duty out on the course, but we're gonna see what that score will be. All of our judges are lifetime riders. Some of them still compete. So they are breaking it down. It's coming in.
Wow, an 87.20, good enough for second place, below Justin Dowell's incredible 91.20. I feel like we have a contest on our hands right here as we see the final run come out of our heat number 1. We're gonna be pushing forth, and heat number 2 is gonna warm up now. We've taken our liberty to talk to our top BMX athletes from around the world, see and pick their brains on some of the information, how they would pick the best BMX rider.
Building the perfect BMX rider. That would definitely be hard.
That's a really difficult question.
I would take Nyquist, obviously, for his bar spins. He got one of the best bar spins in the game.
Dennis Anderson, everybody's favorite rider. He always finds original lines, original tricks. It's just true BMX when you watch him ride.
He rides the course very unique, but not in like I'm just unique. It's like I'm gnarly unique.
Nick Bruce is a wild child. Lots of power, very powerful rider, and he's just Nick Bruce.
Declan Brooks, he has the fastest lines on the course. He's always hauling. He probably takes more laps around the course than anybody else.
Peraza's style is just unreal, and the way he looks at the course as well, he'll always find something different.
I feel like Kevin Peraza really sees the whole course differently than most people. Like, he's always coming up with really creative stuff like, damn, I didn't really see that.
Daniel's very calculated, very smart, intelligent rider. You can tell his riding IQ is high, and cool to watch him ride because he ticks everything off really well. I enjoy watching Daniel ride.
I'd want to have the tricks of Logan Martin. He's so precise. Like, he lands at the top of every landing perfect.
He's a robot and a machine, but he brings that mental preparation for the Feast World Series, and that's why he's been champion of years past.
So if you put all these pieces together into one rider, basically everybody would be battling for second place.
Well, there you go. Hear from Ryan Nyquist. Unfortunately, not going to be able to see him in the finals, but these men are hitting it up for heat number 2. James Jones, Irek Rizaev, Jake Wallwork, and Daniel Sandoval. What a heat we have coming up next for you guys. Stay tuned. These riders are warming up on deck, and we'll be there in a minute. Welcome back, guys. It's the UCI BMX Freestyle Park Men's Final out here in the blistering heat of southern France. That's right, we're live in Montpellier for the FIS World Series 2019. Thanks for joining me. I'm Ryan Meyer, and Daryl now up in the booth about to get heat number 2 started.
Well, we're going to do things in a big way because the first rider of heat number 2 is Great Britain's James Jones. James Jones came out onto the scene last year for the FIS World Series, and his presence was immediately known with big boosting airs. And he's got the tricks that can match that intensity. Oh, going around 3 times on that 360 triple tail whip. James Jones could basically be considered a vert ramp rider because the way he can dominate big quarter pipes. We know that British cycling's coach is Jamie Bestwick, who's one of the most celebrated vert ramp riders in the world. And he is out here cheering on James Jones as he is displaying those vert ramp riding skills on the bigger quarter pipes that we've got on the far end of the course. Backflip to bar spin to no-hander straight into the flare.
James Jones really taking liberty to use his own line selection out here on the course.
Yeah, that is such a big part of the event and the contest. All the riders have the same canvas to work with, and they have to basically take their own lines. They can start with any vantage point that they want, and they can end at any spot they want. It's just what goes down in the 60 seconds.
Wow.
Like that big flare out there. That's the backflip with the 180. And the thing I want to highlight with James Jones's riding is that, especially you can see it in the flare, which we will have on the highlights, he pumps the transition and basically pulls all of the amplitude that you can out of the ramp. He just goes up, and his body positioning in the transition just boosts him straight up to the sky, specifically on the quarter pipes. This is a full commitment on that triple tail whip 360. And then here's a look at the backflip bar spin to no-hander. Perfectly tucks his handlebars into his lap. Off-axis 360, great style. And then we see him excel on the quarter pipes. That's what I was talking about. He just uses his body weight to pump the transition. And when the ramp basically changes angles like that, if you can press into it with your arms and your legs, you can generate speed. It will send a rider up in the air. The higher you go, the more difficult it is to find and spot your landing. But if you can get as close to the top of that coping as possible, you can smoothly slide in. James Jones, 81.60 will be his score.
Well, we talked about a lot of riders in that last feature. Nyquist, Anderson, Peraza, Daniel Dares, but one rider that the riders had not mentioned as their favorite, Irek Rizaev. Let's see some highlights from this phenom out in France.
This is Irek Rizaev!
Huge into a triple tail whip.
1, 2, 3. Wow, he was so high on the triple whip. Wow.
Step up to 360 double downside whip, backflip tail whip into a no-hander over the bottom.
Well, I touched on that before. We watched that feature, the riders' favorite riders, to put together that superstar. We saw the riders list: Nyquist, Dennis Anderson, Kevin Peraza, Daniel Dares. Well, none of them made it into the finals. Irek Rizaev did, from Russia. He is the Russian hopeful. Let's see what he has on course here in France.
So currently the points standings as we move towards Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, Russia is sitting in fourth with top combined scores from Irek Rizaev and Alex Nikolin, who is not in the final. But Irek Rizaev trying to get some of those very valuable points, wanting to finish in a high spot. I love that line out there. You saw the way that he transferred completely diagonal across the course. The more that a rider is able to utilize unique lines that no one else is doing and kind of look at this in their own vision, that's something that's usually judged very high upon from the judges. Because if a rider can ride a transitional quarter pipe and they're very comfortable and it's kind of a stock trick for them, it's not going to be favored as much as when they can adapt to the course and really bring the tricks within that field of play. Oh! Irek Rizaev holding on for that 360 triple tail whip. Here we go, Rizaev, downside 360 whip at the buzzer. Nicely done. Russia very proud right now from a solid run from Irek Rizaev.
Wow, this is going to be such a hard contest, and as I'm looking at our scorekeeping board up here, Justin Dowell still remains on top of the 91.0. I feel a repeat situation coming out like we saw yesterday from Kyle Baldock, who ended up being our first rider out and had that 91 score as well. Dowell being in the first heat, getting that score out, that must feel great for him, but it's going to be a nail-biter the whole way through. When you have riders like Irek Rizaev tackling a course like this, such unique ways, but as well utilizing such high difficulty tricks. He's able to ride everything. He can put style into it, but he has the big combinations like that 360 triple tail whip right there.
Brian, that's a very good point that you raise. And the advantage of being a top qualifier from yesterday is that you are going in reverse ranking order, so you'll have a chance to sit and watch what everyone else does, where Justin Dowell will only be able to sit on the sideline and say, hey, I hope people don't really up the ante. But if you're a rider like our top qualifier of Logan Martin, you can say, hey, you know what? I got to bring my A game, and I got to deliver this trick that maybe I've never done before in a contest, or maybe put it all the line to a different way or change your routine or your run and your approach. So it's definitely an advantage that you have going last. We're seeing our judges up there. That is Hank Dave Cleworth from the UK. He is a part of the Feast World Series and pretty much anything BMX that has a score to it. And look at this, an 88.60. Very impressive.
Wow.
Irek in second place.
Talk about a nail biter right there, and a man who qualified in 6th position all the way out from Melbourne, Australia. He's been doing justice in the Feast circuit for years now. Let's take a look back at some highlights from last year.
No, that was not CGI graphics right there. That was actually some highlights of Jake Wallwork. You can see the Australian rider getting in the zone before he drops in. So much of BMX is taking what you think at one point was impossible and making it possible. Wallwork very focused and determined. He does have what it takes to be on top, because last year at the Feast World Series Championships, he got first place and rode better than any other rider. Looking to do it again today, starting with the big backflip drop-in off the subwall.
Wow, that wasn't just for a quarter. Wow, and that was a huge triple tail whip transfer. I wasn't sure if he was going to overshoot that spine, but he shot past and to the left into the vert wall right there, and a huge front flip bar spin right into a flare whip.
Wallwork is such an exciting rider to watch because he will put it all on the line and do tricks where it's so hard to get your body weight, like that front flip bar spin, where you basically have to clear your knees on the handlebars while still putting your body weight forward. Two tricks that generally don't go together. Great flare transfer that was off the vert wall where he went into the wall ride. Downside tail whip off the spine into the quarter pipe. Let's see if Wallwork can really keep his momentum going as he flare bar spins on that very unique honor bank wedge quarter into a front flare. This is a huge run right now for Wallwork, Ryan.
Well, Wallwork really knows that he needs to pull out everything in one run here to make it into the top spot with runs already into the 90s from Justin Dowell. This is one to compete with that.
Well, currently our country is, as far as our spots that will receive into the Olympics, Australia is leading the charge with the two combined scores from Brandon Loupos, who we have yet to see ride, and Jake Wallwork. Again, all the points are on the UCI.org website, where you can just stay up to date as everything comes in real time for our riders, specifically the points grab that's going to be going on today at the UCI World Cup here at the Feast World Series. So we got Wallwork going up. Big flare bar spin, a very difficult trick to do because it's not a conventional quarter pipe. That's more of a transition into a wedge landing. And then the front flare on the bigger quarters that we have out there, it's basically like on a vert ramp, throwing his weight over the handlebars and nosediving it in. So Wallwork had the full pull. He used the entire 60 seconds. He did have the front flare. He had the front flip bar spin, and he made the whole run look good. We're going to see what that kind of fares as far as the number goes. Again, one rider is in the 90s. That's Justin Dowell, our 2018 UCI World Champion. He has a 91.20. And then in second currently is Irek Rizaev with an 88.60. And Nick Bruce is holding strong with an 87.2 in third. So the judges do not have an easy task at all. They basically have to say, where does that run fit? And they have to, there's an art to it, right? Because they have to basically, we're 12 riders out there, there's 2 runs apiece, so that's 24 runs, and they have to see where does that gonna fit, also based off of the riders who have yet to take the course. So they gotta give themselves a little breathing room, and 86.20, all right. So you can see Wallwork is happy with his performance out there, nodding his head yes. Sounds like the crowd is maybe disagreeing a little bit. They like that front flip. They like the flare going on. So we're going to see if Wallwork changes his approach in his second run.
Well, something where the spinning is actually favored, let's say, on the American right here coming out of California, Daniel Sandoval. He has some incredible spin variations, has a very unique way of doing some of his tail whips, has really brought in a lot of whip backs or downside tail whips into the runs. So really interesting to see where Daniel will go with this one. 360 tail whip into a 360 tail whip to downside whip right there.
Big double tail whip transfer. Yeah, Sandoval exploded onto the scene years back where he was the one leading the charge with the 360 downside whips in both directions. He changes riding up a little bit where he basically focuses on other variations like that bar to tail whip and then kicking it double time with his back end all the way around. So exciting. The fact that he barely got it on as he landed, it just goes to show that Daniel is putting all of his chips out there as he 360 tail whips on the step up. Sandoval popping a flare on the quarter, coming off her elevated portion of the course with a bar spin.
15 seconds left on the clock, 540 bar spin right there into a 1 foot can. 10 seconds, room for 3 more tricks if he can move it. 2 at this point. Coming up into the hip with a downside tail up, and 1 more, gets a bar spin off, and a tuck no hander right to the end, making sure that he can keep going. This is such a hard testament to the riding ability, to the physical endurance, to the mental physical strength as well of all these riders, pushing through the 60 seconds, knowing that you have to be on the top of your form to perform.
Yeah, Ryan, the mental strength is so impressive of our riders, not only in the competition, but everything that goes with it. Our riders are flying around the world. They definitely could have some jet lag going on. They're not in their regular beds as far as their sleep, and they got to bring that energy. They're also competing in other contests throughout the course of the weekend. You actually see that shiner on Sandoval's face, which he got in the dirt competition, which took place a few nights ago. And the fact that he could have his head in the right space to be out here and deliver, that's so impressive. And that's something that a lot of times you don't even take credit for when you're watching the riders, of just how they're able to deliver around the world as we tour and be in the right mindset to bring their A game. So Sandoval waiting for his number to come in. Again, it is a points race for the countries. USA currently sitting in second. The 2 top combined scores from Justin Dowell and Sandoval. And Sandoval is going to get an 83.80. You can see that Daniel right there. He is appreciative of his score, but you know he wants to be up on that top ridge.
Yeah, this is going to be a hard one as well. You see there's some scuffs on Daniel's face. He went down hard in the BMX Dirt 3 nights ago. It is 5 days of incredible events up here in Montpellier. If you guys haven't joined us, please do. One of the most incredible testaments to action sports in general. The largest open free sporting festival in the world. It's the FEES out here in Montpellier. It's part of the society and has been woven into the culture here in the south of France for going since 1997, and we don't see it letting up yet. With Olympics coming 2020, the UCI has joined forces out here, and we have James Jones trying to do it for Great Britain.
Well, James Jones joining forces with British Cycling as he spins around. I believe that was a 360 tail whip and kicked it again for another tail whip.
That wasn't just a regular like whip back as you would have in a windshield wiper. That was a full catch and then a new tail whip. That is much more difficult.
Big hype.
Oh no!
James Jones just slipping it through his fingertips right there. You saw that his bike dumped out to the side. He wound up running off. Thankfully didn't get hurt, but he had so much height coming into that island, and it was exciting to see because most riders will jump that as a waterfall going down the other way. But since he hit that step-up feature, he had all that speed and momentum, and his bike just got away from him right there, which is very disappointing because he had a great start to his run with the big hits coming in, especially on that big quarter pipe. So let's take a look at some of James Jones' 360 bar spin to no-hander. Great 4-hit combo. And then here on the box, watch the feet. 360 tail whip. Tail whips again.
Wow, I haven't seen that before.
That is so precise, being able to put your feet on and just have them kiss the pedals like that and then still keep your momentum around. Some riders you'll see, they'll kick it, they'll actually stop it midway and kick it the other way. Alessandro Barbero was one of the first riders to ever do that trick, but we wound up seeing James Jones having some difficulty. Obviously his first run, the 81.60, is going to be his higher of the two.
Well, you guys, we have some big things coming up in the FIS. Of course, it's a World Series. We've been doing it for years now. That means we're trying to come to a country near you. Let's see what's happening on the global scale for the FIS World Series.
Welcome, everybody. It's the FIS World Series.
The largest action sports festival in the world.
16 parks, 30,000 kilometers traveled, 500 athletes. All leads to here.
Firing it out, double bar spin. Holy smokes.
Absolutely amazing.
The energy from the fans is phenomenal.
The largest BMX contest in the world.
The Olympics. Who could potentially qualify for the 2020 games?
When the smoke clears, we are going to have a champion.
Ryan, I have chills watching the FIS World Series. I cannot believe how far action sports have come, especially over the last 20 years. You better make sure you get to a future event. But right now, if you are joining us, you can check us out on social media.
Hit us up on Facebook, FIS.official. That's OFFICIEL at FIS World 4. Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you hashtag your posts, FIS Montpellier, to stay involved with all the action out there. As well, we got a new website up. It's FIS.fr. You can go to that and you find all the history, all the stats, everything on your favorite riders, but as well on the amateurs, all the qualification periods and everything in the middle. Make sure you guys join us there. You can get all the tour dates. Make sure we see you at a live event next. Up next, Russia's Irek Rizaev for his second run here in heat number 2 of the UCI BMX Freestyle World Cup.
The clock has started. Downside 360 tail whip to bar spin. Rizaev, a backflip tail whip to no-hander as he flies across coast to coast on that wall ride. Big height on the 360, downside double tail whip into a flare tail whip. Rizaev leaving no walls untouched. Here we go, that unique line again, this time turning down, and then a 360 with the bar to no-hander as he floats into that steep transition landing. Rizaev setting up for a double tail whip, full commitment as his weight is over the handlebars to pull the bike right underneath him. Rizaev bar spin to no-hander. Utilizing this section like a vert ramp as he kicks the frame around 3 times for that triple tail whip.
Some incredible riding, but I had to touch such a great line choice. So he came off with that toboggan straight across course, one of the most unique ways, but adding such difficulty with these tail whips. Triple tails we've seen, 360 triple tail whip, 360 double downside whip. There's a downside tail whip in that 360 there, and Irek Rizaev incredibly happy to get that last one.
Yeah, and that he should be very thrilled for his run. It's going to be so interesting to see the way that this is going to work for his numeric number put to his run, because he basically dissected this course unlike anyone else, transferring diagonal across it. That was basically his line choice, and he put his entire run around that, saying, hey, I found a line that I'm comfortable and confident with, but to find that spot, you basically have to start off all the initial part of your run before and after to have it make sense and make work. So here we go, the double tail, that's where I talked about his weight went over the handlebars in order to pull it right underneath him. I loved seeing so many riders utilize these vert quarter pipes, and he transfers over with that triple tail whip. Ryan, it's nuts to think how many times we've seen riders do 360 triple tail whips in this competition. It's almost become the new standard, like a rider would do a single tail whip many years back. So the score to beat, you can see the 91.20. The only rider who is in the 90s is Justin Dowell. Irek Rizaev is sitting in second with an 88.60, and he booms right up into the 90s, so he's not going to move his position, but he's going to have some strength and confidence in his standing, still holding strong with that second place.
Well, Justin Dowell definitely holding his fingers up in the air, cross, because he is a lucky man out here. Only being able to get his first run off in the first run was the best for him. It's stuck so far, and he's still in your hot seat as we move down to the final legs of heat number 1. Jake Wallwork right now delivered a world-class performance, but is only sitting in 4th place with an 86.2. As he comes together here for the final attempt in Montpellier, he gets that big backflip off the huge UCI sub box. Double tail whip right there into the vert section, blasting over to the far right, 360 tuck no hander into the box, the front flip tail whip.
Oh, and his bike going into the drink right there, going completely off course into the Les River. Oh my gosh. Look at his grip. He's got all seaweed on the grip. I don't think he's going to get back onto the course. But the crowd loving the Australian Jake Wallwork.
We're not in Switzerland. That's not a fast enough flowing river that I would really want to go swimming in. But Jake Wallwork is going to disinfect the bike as he brings it back up for another time. But that was it. Second attempt. Started off so big, you can really see the girth of that UCI BMX wall ride, that sub box where he's standing on, but not quite getting the perfect connection with that front flip tail. You see our beautiful drone coverage of that.
So we talk about strategy. So Jake Wallwork's first run was at 86.20. He felt confident and comfortable with the run, but if you get one down, you go, hey, there's only one place that I want to go, and that's to the top of the podium. So that's why we saw him change things up for that front flip with the tail whip. So much is going on that trick. Again, much like the bar spin, it's so difficult where your body weight has to be in relation to your handlebars to get the frame to rotate around. Wallwork was not able to pull it back underneath him. Thankfully, he's okay, but you saw he took that hard crash and his bike went flying right into the Les River. So heat 2, one rider remains, the USA rider of Daniel Sandoval. His first run was an 83.80. We know that Daniel could definitely up the ante with things. In 2017, he actually finished 5th overall for the year. We're gonna see Sandoval. He is an X Games gold medalist from Corona, California. Sandoval dropping in. Downside 360 tail up, so smooth the way he floats right to the pedals.
Oh, Sandoval going for it.
Sandoval looking to send it right there. Trying for a different style, looking to kick his feet straight up to the sky. Such a cool trick. We actually saw him debut that for the first time in Edmonton's Best Trick Contest. One of the best things about the Feast, not only do we bring this great show for riders around the world, but we have such a cool archive of all the events going on. It's so simple. All you do is go to our YouTube channel, just type in FISE, and you'll see all the back history, not only of our qualifiers, not only of our finals, but of the crazy best trick competitions that go on. Sandoval in Edmonton actually did that variation where his shoes went straight up to the sky and he wound up grabbing the seat.
Welcome back, guys. It is the FIS World Series 2019. We're live here from Montpellier. We have some incredible coverage happening, but just finished up heat number 2 of the UCI BMX Freestyle Park World Cup Finals here in France. Check out Irek Rizaev right there. He is sitting currently in 2nd place, just under heat 1's Justin Dowell. Some amazing transfers, great line choice, and incredibly difficult tricks coming out of the young Russian.
Taking a look at the Australian rider, Jake Wallwork. Currently leading the charge is Australia for points as far as a spot for the Olympics. Our riders are competing for their country, and if their country earns a spot there, then the country's federation will choose who gets to ride there. Early in the program, we talked about there being 18 riders that will get to ride at the games in Tokyo. 9 of them will be men, 9 of them will be women. 1 spot will go to the host country, which is that of Japan. And then since our countries are competing with the score, we basically take the top 2 scores of a rider from a country, we add them up, and we see where they fit within that realm. So all that information, UCI.org, as we get ready for our third and final heat. As we said, 12 riders competed for the finals, and to be in this spot, these were your top 4 qualifying riders. As we look at these mug shots, Kyle Baldock from Australia, Rim Nakamura from Japan, from Australia as well, Brandon Loupos, and last but certainly not least, the Aussie Logan Martin are going to be your 4 riders for the final. Yes, you did hear me say Australia 3 times, because they were dominating yesterday in our semis.
FIS World Series 2019. We are about to get things going for heat number 3, the third and final heat out here in the glorious sun of the southern French Montpellier city. It is one to be talked about, one of the most incredible semifinals I have ever seen in my life. That is going to consist of Kyle Baldock, Rim Nakamura, Brandon Loupos, and Logan Martin. Those riders all in the 90s with their semifinals yesterday. Kyle Baldock was the first rider to drop the first score to get on the board, and it was in the 91s. An insane testament to the ability that he has on a BMX bike. It held up all the way until Japan's Rim Nakamura, who ended him bumping him out, but then it was about the 2 Australians, Brandon Loupos and Logan Martin, battling it out after that. You see this beautiful park sculpted by Hurricane Parks here in the Les River. You see that insane new middle honor feature right there in the center of your screen, but then we as well taken that elevated section that we've seen for many years out towards the VIP section of this section. It totally brings a new flow for the BMX athletes and something that you will love to watch as we have our next heat start.
Well, we have one of the best parks in the world, and we have one of the best crowds ever assembled in the history of the FIS. And right now we have the top 4 riders who are the pinnacle of BMX Freestyle getting ready to drop in. These were our highest 4 scores of yesterday, 3 of them being Australians. And the man who is leading the charge, this is an X Games gold medalist in BMX dirt and park, showing that he's a very well-rounded rider. This is the big guy from Australia, Kyle Baldock.
Who I was talking about came out with the first score. He was your last chance qualifier coming from the qualifications into semis yesterday, but he is in the last heat here as he had one of the biggest runs yesterday, starting off with big trick like that 720.
Into a backflip, he chose to throw the bars kind of last moment right there. Baldock charging across. Oh, 720 tail whip 2 times around with his body, once with his bike. You see the way he's able to pull it together and get that additional speed on the second rotation. Baldock right now, wall ride transfer, looking to set up and find his lines out here. No-hander jumping in. Double downside tail whip, so cool the way he's committed, leaning over the handlebars. And Baldock having a little bit of difficulty. So it looks like he's going to wave off the rest of his 18 seconds out there. Now, Ryan, it's always hard to know exactly what's going on in a rider's head as far as the run's concerned, but I know that Baldock always expects so much from himself. That's why he's won so many competitions that are outside the FIS World Series, because he really brings it. And right here on the backflip, you saw that bar spin. So I don't know if he said, hey, I'm going to do a different trick, and the fact that your mind maybe wasn't fully lined up to go for broke out there, and he wound up just throwing the bar spin. Very difficult trick, backflip bar spin. Not many riders can do that, but for Kyle Baldock, who is the cream of the crop, that's almost a throwaway trick for him, which is, believe it or not, so crazy to say, and we don't want to take away from that. It's just that he has so many big combos. So BMX, you're basically making the impossible possible, but it's also, you're riding against the 12 other riders in the final, but really, you're waging the war on yourself inside your head to get lined up and give your best and bring it to our fans.
I mean, you said we do not want to take away from that trick, an incredible what it was, but when you're in the finals here at Montpellier, you need perfection, and Baldock knows that. I think that was the make or break it moment for him. He hesitated. He wanted to get a combination much bigger than that backflip bar spin and just threw a bar spin to be safe and get something, but seemed like he was off mentally after that one, and he wants to come back. You saw the determination in his face. Well, coming out of Japan, determination it's taken to get to this point. Rim Nakamura 360 tail to double bar spin.
What? So many combinations for Japan right here. Nakamura throwing bar spin after bar spin with tail whips in the mix. Nakamura, big transfer into the vert quarter pipe. Look at the height. We are flying Japan Airlines with Rim Nakamura, your captain, as he is bar spinning and Superman C-grabbing his way back into the spine right now. Nakamura, 30 seconds to go. This is a big run as he 720 bar spins. Opposite wall ride transfer out of the taller quarter pipe. Nakamura with the no-hander. Let's see if he can keep the intensity up as the clock is getting down to the nitty-gritty triple bar spin. Nakamura is absolutely on one right now as he just tail whips around. 10 seconds to go for Rim as he up the vert wall, putting the gas on, looking to peel it back in a backflip bar spin to no-hander. Final thought is a big flare, and that is a huge run for the Japanese sensation of Rim Nakamura.
Wow, what an incredible performance comes through for the young Rim Nakamura. I cannot believe he's come so far from the last time that we were watching him on screen. Last year was the first time I was hosting an event with the young Red Bull athlete out in Hiroshima, and so incredible to see him come back with this. But not just this one, I want to look at the box jump here. 360 double bar spin, tuck no hander to bar spin back, catching the bars each time in between. That's such an incredible trick right there.
All of our riders know if you're in the air and you're going to do more and more tricks. Speaking of air, look at the height, the highest air we've seen so far of the day. But if you're going to throw in more combinations on one air, the level of difficulty increases because you have less time to do it. You also have to be completely focused and confident before you take off without hesitation. So if you're going to do 4 hits in a row and one of them happens to be a bar spin or even a double bar spin, just milliseconds and moments before you land, you got to know exactly what you're doing, and it looks like Rim did just that in his first run. That was a big one for Japan. Japan currently sitting in 7th place as far as the points race goes, but remember, our host country of Japan will get a position into the Olympics Games. So right there, Rim Nakamura with an 86.80. You can hear the fans out here. They are showing their disapproval of the score, but that was a big run from Rim, and the judges really break down as far as the rider's overall approach beyond the tricks on the course.
Well, we got some big things coming your way, and that means 2 Australians up next. Let's take a look, though, at Brandon Loupos. Loupos dropping in heavy.
So Brandon Loupos getting ready to roll in. Earlier this year in Hiroshima at the first stop, Ryan, you and I witnessed insanity go down as we saw one of the biggest contest runs in the history of the FIS World Series. Brandon Loupos earned a 95.80 by riding on a whole nother level for himself. Let's see as Loupos drops in with the backflip double tail whip.
Oh, into a 1080. Loupos, though.
Oh, that is so disappointing. It looks as if his back wheel is having some difficulty. Maybe it's his front wheel.
Wow, Brandon Loupos really, unfortunately, stopping after that one. Getting the 1080, an incredible shot to BMX riding.
Wow, so full commitment right there. Loupos looking to reenact some of his run from Hiroshima where he got that big first place. The 1080 is 3 360s over the box jump. So you can see Loupos down there trying to inspect his bike and see what's going on. But let's look right here as he goes over the spine, backflip, double tail up. He sets up so clean to charge in, and there is 1, 2, 3 times around, and you just see his back wheel as he over-rotated ever so slightly, but you have so much pressure, velocity, and force coming down where it's easy to either warp and bend your back wheel, or you could wind up tearing the rim right from the tire and losing all the pressure.
A man who knows how to get it done and ends up being one of the most competitive figures in BMX. This is Logan Martin. That's Logan Martin right there. Like I said, one of the fiercest competitors in BMX, and it came down to the very last run of the semifinals yesterday where Logan Martin had all the pressure on his shoulder and delivered. Here he goes for his first attempt in the finals.
Oh, Logan at 720. There we go. Bar spin with the flare across the channel. Logan has been riding with the brand new Focus as he is recently a father. That was a 720 double bar spin. Logan is no stranger to being on top at the Feast World Series. He actually held the high honors in 2015 and 16 and second place in 2017. Logan right now is feeling good as he is charging across the course in Montpellier with the 360 double bar spin on that very unique transition.
Logan Martin taking charge across the course here. Flat spin one-hander as he pumps forward into that flare tail whip. 10 seconds on the clock, enough time for one big trick coming out of Logan Martin when he comes up into this quarter pipe.
Ooh, flare with the tail whip. And Logan is going to be his last trick up on the elevated section right there. So Logan getting his first run done. Lots of highlights, lots of big moves. As we mentioned earlier, in 2017, Logan was the UCI World Champion. Unfortunately, last year he had a few injuries, one specifically being to his collarbone. Thankfully, he is all healed up. He's in the right body, state, and mind. Like we said, recently a father, and he also built one of the coolest backyard ramp setups down in Australia. He had Jason Watts, J2E, come over and build and construct. You can follow actually all of his adventure on his Instagram, and he's going to be dropping a brand new edit right in the backyard. But right now it is that 720 double bar spin into the flare. I believe that was his opposite direction, and there you go, big double tail whip out of the vert quarter pipe. And here you go, taking the 1 foot, one hand off as he just floats a nice lofty off-axis flip, and then wrapping it up with that flare tail whip. Logan was definitely one of the riders who stepped up the game as far as what's expected out of a BMX rider on their endurance level and the way that they take a training approach to BMX and has that consistency. Decades earlier, I like to say Rob Nolly, by doing BMX shows throughout the years in the US, kind of took that approach, and then now Logan Martin has stepped it up in a competition format, looking to be an Olympic athlete, and Logan with the 89.30. So he is in that third place spot, just on the outside of the 90s. He's going to have a lot of room to potentially go up as we work back to the top of the ladder for his Australian counterpart, Kyle Baldock.
Wow, 3 Australians in this one heat, moving back up top to Kyle Baldock. Had one of the most incredible runs, setting the bar with a 91 out of yesterday's semifinal.
So let's see, Baldock getting ready to drop in. Can he get his head right in the game where it needs to be? Off-axis 720, smooth on the landing. Oh, that's what he was looking for.
That's where it went wrong. He lost his momentum from that one mentally and comes back a 720 tail whip, flying into a 540 flare. This is the run Kyle was looking for as he pushes forth into a downside double tail whip over that hip, pushes across course backwards here.
Baldock making great connections with big tricks as he has 28 seconds to go. Downside double tail whip. Let's see if he could ride the momentum of a huge first start as he has 20 seconds with the bar spin on the quarter. Coming back, opposite air over the spine. Front flip!
Oh no! Kyle Baldock not being rotation on that spine jump. The front flip cost him. He was all down to the last 10 seconds. I cannot believe it.
Wow, you really can see the size of the ramps out here, the elevation change with Baldock being on the lower side of that spine. It's such a big trick to do that front flip where you go off axis because you're only traveling about 6 inches across the deck to come back in. He wasn't able to get it all where it needed to be, and he wound up washing out. But let's look at all the highlights of Baldock in the first 3/4 of his run. That's what he wanted, that backflip bar spin to tail up. You could see why there would be hesitation in his first run. That's a big combination because you got to throw the handlebars around and then put your hands confidently on the grips and utilize your upper body to kick the back end. Here's a double tail whip. So cool if you took a freeze frame. You could just see he's pitched over the bars, and here's the front flip. And then, now you might say, oh, it looked like he was maybe doing a rotation or a spin. That's a very unique trick. Daniel Dares was one of the first to start front flipping spines, and when you do it, you actually have to go sideways a little bit, because when you jump a spine regularly, you almost fishtail over because you're only traveling a short distance and your back end will swing out. So to get the front flip, spot the landing, a lot of guys shift their bike a little bit to the side, and that's why it looked like that rotation was there.
Well, moving to our one non-Australian in the third heat. That means 3 runs remain in this last final as we're waiting to see if someone can top that 91.20 of Justin Dowell, set in heat number 1. This is, however, Japan's top hopeful, Rim Nakamura.
Here we go, Rim. Look at the bunny hop to get the speed over the spine. Pumped with all she's worth. Big 360 triple bar spin to no-hander.
Oh, switched it up this time, a little bit of a case.
Rim might have a flat tire.
I think he's gonna.
No. All right, he wound up stopping his momentum, but he is back on course. Landing a little flat right there. Maybe thinking to try to go to the moon, skying it up. So it's interesting, again, unless you're a rider on the course, you don't fully know what's going on in their heads, but if you wind up messing up a little bit, you sometimes will stop your run. And this right now is for the fans out here. Look at the big transfer. Boom!
Oh my gosh! That was one of the biggest errors I have seen at all this weekend. Jose Torres-Kill and Rim Nakamura, we're setting up a high bar contest for you guys next year.
Japan Airlines, your captain, Rim Nakamura, flying through the skies of Montpellier with that big transfer to an even bigger tabletop air. So Rim started things off with some crazy combos. Again, putting 4 hits in 1 jump, that is unheard of. And if you throw the 360 in the mix, you're talking about 5 tricks in 1 air. Unbelievable stuff. But he wound up then slowing himself down a little bit because he didn't get exactly what he wanted to do. There was the 360 with the tail ups, and right here, 1, 2, 3, no-hander with the 360, and then on the quarter pipe, big air, didn't get exactly what he wanted to, and he hung up right there. That kind of zonked all of his momentum, and then he brought back straight up to the sky. Look at this, bam! Big tabletop right there.
What height on that jump, I cannot believe it. Matt Hoffman would be proud of that one.
Yeah, Rim making all of Japan proud as well. Big height, big air. We're looking at our judges as we're working through the pack. 2 more riders remain. We actually saw a battle royale go down earlier in the year in Hiroshima, and the rider who brought the highest score there was none other than Brandon Loupos. Loupos, so focused, doing it for Australia, who's currently in points for a position in the Olympic Games. Loupos puts so much pressure on his own shoulders and rides at such another level. He's so focused, not only for himself, but he's been fueled up by his influence from the late, great Dave Mira. Dave has been such a big influence in his life, and he wants to pay homage to his legacy and just push his riding to another stratosphere. Loupos, 60 seconds, starting things out with the backflip double tail whip.
Yes, gets the 1080. Brandon Loupos, this is where it all counts. Come on.
Loupos, double backflip.
Oh my word, Loupos is wanting to get that gold. 360 bar spin down the step up. Brandon Loupos with a huge look back there, showing some style.
Loupos airing out of the vert wall. Here we go, 30 seconds on the clock as Loupos comes in with a bar spin to huge tuck no-hander. The height was a factor on that hit as he is working back to the box jump.
Cash roll, lands it, coming up into a flare. 19 seconds, 18 left on the clock.
Look at his handlebars. They shifted completely forward right there, and he's still going. Loupos throwing a
no! No! How upsetting is that? Everything down to the end, and unfortunately, he just went too big and his handlebars slammed forward. That is one of the most incredible testaments, still going for that flare with the bars sent forward.
Yeah, Ryan, that shows Brandon Loupos' committed mindset, knowing that he wanted to get his run in, so focused on it. When a rider's bike moves, and we're going to talk about the handlebars in particular in this case, even if it's a millimeter forward or backwards, it can change your entire steering. Well, right now he is on course with the backflip double tail whip and then over the box jump 1, 2, 3 times around the whirling dervish, spinning right to the landing. You see that time he stuck it clean, and this time on the different axis doing 2 backflips around.
Honestly, there were such big tricks thrown into this run. I would not even be surprised because there was no crash from Brandon until the very end on that flare with the handlebars. Right here, you see those bars slam forward. There's no crash with him until that happened. There was only 10 seconds left on the run. I would not be surprised if he gets a high 80s score for this, possibly even rivaling one of those top spots.
Yeah, his first score was a throwaway, a 19.20. So obviously this was much better than that. He had a chance to continue throughout the run, but we're going to see where will that sit him.
A 72.40 deflation in the eyes of Loupos.
That is still so impressive. The fact that he didn't have the rest of his run and he still got a 72.40. Unfortunate about his bars moving, but much respect.
Wow, and then there was only one last run left here. A rider who we're used to seeing in first place, but able to come back. Third place he's setting so far, Logan Martin with a backflip double tail whip as he goes into a 360 double downside tail whip on that box jump and a flare bar spin.
Logan Martin, the machine, newly minted father, charging with the 720 double bar spin coming around, kicking that downside tail whip. Here we go, over that step down. Look at Logan pump through as if that was a snake run out there. He's got 33 seconds. These are going to be so important for Martin. He has got to weigh out the risk versus reward. He's currently in third. He knows that it's going to take a big score up into the 90s to do it, and he has in the past. Wow,
and
so
that's it. He's calling it off. Logan Martin is calling it off.
Very uncharacteristic of Logan Martin right there. But let's break down in just a moment and see what happened on his run, what caused him to not utilize the entire clock to the end. So we're gonna look at Logan as he backflip double tail whip. So much height, he lands so smooth on top of the transitions of the landings. You heard Ryan Nyquist say that earlier. That was actually a triple tail whip on that downside 360 coming around. Yeah, and Ryan, it's so easy to call that way because he does it so clean and consistent. By the time he takes off on his first spin, he's already halfway around. And actually on that last hit right there, we saw he landed completely sideways as he wound up getting his feet to the pedals. It was a little hard to see from the first perspective, but once we had that initial second angle, you can see that. And the fact that his first score was extremely high and he was sitting in that third place spot, he knew that he was going to need a lot more to get up into the 90s.
Well, but that's going to do it. That means your champion out here is going to be Justin Dowell, set with his 91 score, coming out of heat number 1. The American did it in his first run, and I can see the excitement on his face, showcasing the reason why he is riding in that UCI rainbow jersey. Such a great turn of events out here for the finals. Any one of the riders could have taken it, but it went right down to that last run. Logan Martin, we were biting our nails, but he's coming away with the third place of today still nonetheless.
Ryan, we have an absolute points race going on. If you go to UCI.org, you can find out where all the riders are going to wind up fitting in terms of the Olympic race. Prior to the event, Australia was in first, but Justin Dowell, you can see on top, is going to wind up grabbing some of those crucial numbers. Take a look. Dowell, Rizaev, Martin, USA, Russia, and Australia. Those are going to be the top 3 orders for the country, but take a look.
The rest of the field, Nick Bruce in 4th place, Rim Nakamura, Jake Wallwork, Daniel Sandoval, James Jones, Brandon Loupos, unfortunately they're in 9th, Kyle Baldock, Anthony JeanJean, and finishing off the top 12, Alex Coleborn. Well, huge shouts go out to, of course, Brandon Loupos. I think that was going to be a first place run for sure that would have rivaled the top of Justin Dowell, but big shout out goes as well to the Russian Irek Rizaev.
Yeah, so much respect for all of our riders that were in the finals. It was so crazy to even qualify, not only for the semifinals, but to make it here for the big show. So wild to see the real-time progression of BMX Freestyle. As we mentioned, the energy just keeps building. The Olympics, we are on the road to Tokyo 2020, and we are watching riding for what's the expectations of our riders, not only during that 60 seconds on course, but what they're bringing to the event just go up and up.
Wow, so amazing. Of course, Logan Martin, Irek Rizaev, but it's all about Justin Dowell from America. Let's take a look back at that first run and the one that took it here on the top spot today.
So interesting to see Dowell in the first heat hold strong. That is rarely done because it's usually put in reverse order of our qualifying riders. You can see the 2018 UCI World Champion from Virginia Beach charging across the park. There was the cannonball where he took all of his limbs off, grabbed the seat, pushed it out cleanly in front of him with enough time to get the bar spin back. He had some difficulty with that on his run number 2, but this is his first run where he really smashed it very clean, getting that score into the 90s. And that was the Twix transfer off the quarter pipe, across the gap, landing cleanly in the other one. The Twix is known as the tail whip with the bar spin coming around. Dowell had no problem at all as he traveled. There's the 360 bar spin going up. And then we're looking as he jumps into the vert wall. And this here, he has the power and endurance to bring it together with the 360 double tail whip. And then the cherry on top was that flare with the turn down.
Wow, can you imagine that it has actually come to such an incredible event like that? He just put it all on the line on the first run right there, but I'm gonna give it down to our on-site MC. That's gonna be none other than Catfish down there to present to you our top podium for the finals.
It's never a disappointment here in the finals, always exciting, and that's exactly what we just saw, some of the wildest riding ever. But now there are only 3 podium places. Let's meet our podium winners. 3rd place from Brisbane, Australia, Logan Martin.
Thank you. Another 3rd, man. Great, Logan.
2nd place here at Pro Freestyle Park from Kazan, Russia, Irek Rizaev. And your BMX Freestyle Park champion here in Montpellier, from Virginia, USA, Justin Dowell!
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Montpellier, how about a round of applause for your top 3 three finishers here at the biggest and best BMX contest in the world. You got to do something live. That's good. Justin Dowell, 18 years old. You just won FEAS. 19 years old. You just won FEAS. How does it feel?
Dude, honestly, I can't freaking believe it. I just wanted to do the best run I possibly could, and I was in the first heat, and to hold the score that long is just unbelievable with all the best riders in the world. I just want to thank everyone who supports me.
Now, you put a lot of pressure on yourself. You work really hard. What sort of mindset did you play with yourself coming into this contest?
It just takes a lot of focus and training. I ended up leaving home and going to Europe basically full-time to train. I left everything at home for this, and it's paid off, and I'm just so happy to bring home this first place.
Well, you got a lot of fans out there. What do you want to say to the fans and the kids that you inspire?
I just want to say thank you to everyone. Like, this is a dream of mine, and everyone who sends me messages saying they support me, I just thank you all. I love you all.
Thank you so much. Enjoy it. You deserve this. Ladies and gentlemen, your Montpellier champion from the USA, Justin Dowell.
Wow, that's what we're talking about. A story for the history books out there from such an incredible, humble individual. But look at the overall rankings for our FEAS World Series. Starting things off with Logan Martin right there.
So the consistency of Logan, 16,400 points, followed by Rim Nakamura, Justin Dowell in third, Irek Rizaev, Brandon Loupos, and Nick Bruce are going to be your top 6.
Well, that's all it takes to make it onto the global leaderboard. But if you want to stay tuned, we have big things coming your way. It's going to be the UCI Flatland BMX final. It's going to be happening in just an hour. Stay tuned online for that. But guys, we have one more stop to the FEAS World Series 2019. That's going to be in Chengdu, China. Join us there. I'm Ryan Meyer. This is Daryl now. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. We had a blast.